Test 1, 2, test 1, 2.
Check. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve.
Nick Reynolds, Steve Harness, and Cousin Brewski. The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve.
Take one.
Welcome to the program. It's The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve. All Brewski. Check out our webpage, thevocalminority.net. All our socials are right there, just waiting for you. They're not lonely, but, I mean, they're waiting.
You can X us. Is that what we're calling it? I don't even know.
Well, we'll see how long it lasts. We don't even know. It's not doing well. So, yeah, you can X us if you want. We've got that available along with Threads and all the other majors. Go check us out. You can figure it out.
X and Threads. We're also on ones you've heard of, like Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, whatever else.
Indeed we are. Gentlemen, just doing some show prep today, and I thought, this could make for an interesting list because, I could see us having, varying opinions on what's happening in the world of not only rock and roll, but I guess just music when they compile a list of the 20 greatest guitar players of all time. I mean, that's a little controversial, isn't it?
It is. This is a fight in the making. You ready, Brewski?
I'm ready.
You guys shake hands, dude. I want a clean fight. All right.
Nothing is more divisive on the show than musical taste.
No, but I mean, I don't think that we'll disagree too much on who was a great guitarist, just whether that person's a crap bag or not, you know?
Right. Yeah. All right. That's fair enough.
I will preface all of this by saying anytime anyone does a top whatever musical thing, it's all opinion. There is no right or wrong answer. I mean, it's kind of a dumb thing. And I remember back in my band days, we did a battle of the bands once, and we were just like, we're never doing this again. Because it's just so dumb to be judged based on music. I mean, there obviously is no right or wrong answer.
Yeah. It's like
having said that, I'm going to tell you half these names are wrong right now. So.
You think so? You don't think it'll get most of them correct?
Well, who knows? You know, some people put together intelligent lists. Others are clickbait meant to infuriate you by leaving off Hendrix or something.
Right.
Yeah,
yes.
But the other thing, too, is that, there's going to be the usual suspects. And I'm not going to throw any names. I'll wait till Nick brings them up.
I don't know why, but I was literally just debating this. I have these little mental discussions with myself a lot. And I was trying to think if I had to write a top 10 list of guitarists, like the first few were pretty obvious, some of the big names that I'm sure will be on this list. But then it starts to get a little more nuanced, So
sure.
I'm curious to see who. First of all, you're going to have to tell us someone who put this together. But yeah, what 20 names are on there?
Orchestra Central. All right. So a lover of music as a whole, dude. I mean, this is not rock based. This is not Rolling Stone. This is just the roots of music. OK.
All right.
That's what's going to make the list interesting is that, everyone's affected by a certain piece of music they hear at some time. And that, kind of shapes their belief of who the greatest guitar player is. Also, we could get into the nuance of it all and be like, technically, who's the best technical guitar player? Who's the best this? Who's the best that? But this is just an overall list. Sure. Top 20 and number 20 on the list is someone that, I think a lot of. Mark Knopfler is the name that they have in at number 20. Hell of a guitarist.
Heck yeah.
Mr. Dire Straits and a bunch of solo artist work. Mark Knopfler is one of the greats. I actually probably would have put him higher up on the list, but I remember Mark Knopfler said in an interview once that someone said, he must be able to shred like, some Steve Vai or Metal God, Right. And he said, I don't play fast. Like, that's not my thing,
Yeah.
Although the song's a swing, there's a little, there's a little, fast pick in there.
It's a Sultan swing. I mean, he's an incredible guitarist. And if you listen to not only his stuff on Dire Straits, but Mark Knopfler has a huge solo career. And he's just a great overall guitar player. He knows how to play the guitar, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, all right. I don't disagree with that at all, and I agree that he should be on the list, but I probably would put him higher, but okay.
Number 19 on the list is little Jimmy Page.
Oh, jeez.
19.
19?
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, he's the usual contender for top 3 of the greatest guitar players ever. So
yes, dude.
19
I mean,
on the list. list.
19. Is this a clickbait article already? I don't know.
Is it just because he stole everything from black guys? Is that what he stole?
He's talented. I mean, his guitar riffs overall are, some of the most easily recognized.
Yes, he is one of the greatest rock, guitar players of all time. I mean, 19 on the list. That's pretty damn low.
Yeah.
My son was recently asking me, is it a real thing that you can't play Stairway to Heaven at a guitar store?
Yeah, I think people adopted it for sure, right?
Yeah. It started as a joke, but then it became such a thing that, and there's YouTube videos out there, people going into guitar stores and doing it to see what the reaction is. And it's become a rule. You don't play Stairway to Heaven in a guitar store. So.
You respect the rules of the guitar store.
Right. And that's because it is such an iconic classic song. It's become almost a parody of itself in some ways. So.
In Harvard Square by the T station, there's like what's called the Pit. And it's a stairway, and a lot of kids hang out there. Well, it used to be when I was a teenager, at least. All the punker kids and everything, we'd all hang out down there. And there'd be, every so often, there'd be somebody down there busking, playing acoustic guitar, and they take requests. And we would actually pay the guy not to play "Wish You Were Here."
No, really, it was
because everybody was like,
song you hear.
Oh my god, people would always be like, "Play Wish You Were Here," especially during the summer in Harvard Square because there were a lot of homeless kids that hitchhiked to Boston and were hanging out in Cambridge for the summer and that sort of thing. So they'd sing "Wish You Were Here" because it's a whole big runaway thing and all that. But we'd pay the guy anyway. Like, here's $5. Don't play "Wish You Were Here" while we're sitting here, please.
Very nice. I love a little live busking. Number 18 on the list. Will it surprise you to hear that it is one Mr. Carlos Santana?
Okay.
What do you think about that? Is he too low?
No, I actually think he belongs somewhere in the high teens there. I don't put him in my top 10 by any means, but he's deserving of being on that list for sure.
Sure. Yeah. No, he can play the guitar, but yeah.
He does his best work on acid, though.
I was going to say, he would tell you the opposite. The story about him taking acid at Woodstock and him freaking himself out on stage.
As somebody listening to the music, I hear what he did, and to me, that's awesome,
Freaked him out. He was anxious about it, but the fans enjoyed it for sure.
We have the same taste in guitars. He loves Paul Reed Smiths, which I got a Paul Reed Smith hanging on the wall right over there.
Yeah.
And, of course, Carlos Santana owes his career to Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20. What would he be without?
Well, I mean, he'd be Carlos Santana. I mean, he had a lot of hits before Rob Thomas. Dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Yeah.
No, I meant that the other way around. I used to joke that Matchbox 20 is one of these bands of like, who's the lead singer? Do you know his name? No, of course you don't.
I do.
And then he did that song with Santana as a solo artist and now has taken off as,
right.
Everyone knows Rob Thomas now. But.
He did a really killer job. He did Voodoo Child with Robert Randolph from Robert Randolph and the Family Band. And Robert Randolph, he plays the steel guitar.
Nice.
The one that you sit down and you play the pedals and everything like that.
Sure.
And when he has to play the Hendrix solos and you watch him playing it on that, it's amazing. And Rob Thomas does a really good job on the lyrics, too. The vocals.
Rob Thomas did a hell of a job. It was one of the better episodes I've ever seen on at Daryl's house.
Yes.
Daryl Hall. They just, they played Matchbox 20 songs. They played Daryl Hall & Oates songs and did some other stuff. They did
cool. Kiss on My List, and they did a really slow version of it. And it was really out of this world. Yeah.
Nice.
So there you go, Rob Thomas. So that's why he's so famous, Steve.
Yeah, there you go.
We worship Rob Thomas. I wonder if this one will make Harness cry or if he'll feel happy about this. It's number 17 on our list.
Oh, Kirk Hammett or James Hetfield?
Kirk Hammett.
Okay. Speaking of Carlos Santana, Kirk Hammett took a lot of influence from Santana. And,
really?
Yeah.
Well, aren't they both Bay Area guys?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Santana was Bay Area, I think.
If you told me, who are your two favorite lead guitar players of all time, I would probably say Mike McCready and Kirk Hammett, or at least they had the biggest influence on me personally. Not the greatest of all time on their own, but as far as influencing me, Mike McCready of Pearl Jam and Kirk Hammett of Metallica.
Okay.
So, yeah. I mean, I'm glad to see him get the accolade, being in the top 20. He's ahead of Jimmy Page. That seems bad. But,
right.
But, yeah, I mean, he is a phenomenal guitar player. So.
All right. I didn't
Brewski, any objections to that since Metallica's come up on the list?
Nope.
You respect his skills?
Yeah, he's nobody Van Halen, but yeah.
You know, I've argued the guitar solo on One is one of the great guitar solos of all time. Probably not the greatest, but it's one of the.
This is going to sound weird to say this because I've ripped on this guy in the past, but my favorite part of that particular song is the drums, the double kick bass.
Of One, you mean?
Of One, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's like if I could isolate one element of that song, it would be the drums, the double kicking on that big thing from that one song.
Everybody loved it.
It is the greatest heavy metal riff of all time. You know, the way it drops down to just the double kick and then the guitar comes in right with the double kick drive. I mean, it's
a definition of shredding. I mean, it's the definition, right?
Yeah. And I mean, this was way before so many other bands that, you know, like Pantera or somebody that really took all that stuff to a whole new level. But yeah, no, Metallica One, like I've said, starts off as a lullaby, ends as a nightmare. What a song.
All right, let's go. Next one on the list is 16. It's Joe Satriani.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, Joe Satriani is right in that Steve Vai sort of category of some guitar players think of them as the ultimate because they can shred like no other. I mean, they take technical playing to a level that no one else does. Yes. However, do they have the same level of emotion as a Jimmy Page or a Jimi Hendrix or something? They don't, but that doesn't take away from what they do. I would say that Steve Vai and Joe Satriani are some of the greats because they are so technically proficient. How many Joe Satriani songs can you name?
My favorite is War, which is a fantastic song. You guys should know because Stern used it as one of his open for a while. Summer Song, Always With You, Always With Me, which is what Nikki just played. Surfing with the Alien, the whole album, top to bottom, is just out of this world. Satch Boogie, yeah. So I'm one of those dorks.
I was going to say, Brewski's a bit of a musical nerd. I would wonder if my girlfriend Dottie is a rock and roll goddess. She knows all sorts of stuff. I bet if I put a gun to her head, she could not name a Joe Satriani song. But it's one of weird. I mean, could you have, Nick? Could you have named any Satch songs?
I couldn't have named one.
Right, but you've heard of them.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Right. That's the weird thing. They're so famous because they're so technically proficient, but are they good songwriters? Like,
right.
Summer Song in particular. If you listen to that, I guarantee you've heard it in a commercial. It was in a Sony commercial. It's been in a lot of stuff like that. Like you say to somebody, do you know Joe Satriani? They say no. But then if you play a song, they're like, oh, wait a minute, I know who that is. I know that song.
Which there's some bragging rights there. That's hard to pull off, to have no true, like, big, hits that everyone knows, yet everyone knows you somehow. So
yeah, exactly.
That does speak volumes. So if Joe Satriani's on the list, though, Steve Vai better not be up here ahead of him. So let's put it So.
No, you'll have to wait and see, dude. See what happens. Next on the list, all right. We're going to go to number 15 now. Does this sound familiar?
Oh.
For Your Love? Is this the Yardbirds?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Jeff Beck is number 15 on the list.
Jeff Beck is a guitar player's guitar player. Most guitar players worship Jeff Beck. Same sort of argument I might make with Satriani, though. Like, how many Jeff Beck songs do you know? Like, true musicians know some, but has he had any big hits outside of the Yardbirds? Probably not, but he is one of the greats as far as straddling the line, I would say, between technically proficient and having some good blues emotion to him.
Right. And you'd be surprised sometimes how many songs that these guys have played on that you didn't realize they played on.
That's right. That's exactly right.
For different bands.
I was going to say, they've joined a lot of bands over the years that, you probably know. So.
Yeah.
All right. Number 14 on the list.
Oh, yeah.
Stevie Ray Vaughan. I mean, you can't have a top 20 without Stevie in it, and I would say he's probably should be up a little higher than 14, don't you think?
I do. Yep. Very technically proficient, but very emotional. I mean, you can feel the passion.
It's just blues. Oh.
Yes.
Again, though, how many hits did he have? Yeah, it's debatable, but these are all different categories. I'm just acknowledging that there's technically proficient, there's people that write hits, and some people that straddle the line. I would say he's one of those that probably hasn't had a lot of big mainstream hits, but I think almost everyone knows who he is. So.
One of my go-to karaoke songs of all time is "The Sky Is Crying."
Oh yeah, that's a good one. You sing that, dude?
Yes, I do. I used to sing it at the Crescent Lounge.
We're going to need some video of that one of these days.
Oh,
yeah.
my God.
Well, I mean, we used to do karaoke with the cousin. We may have to bring that onto the podcast.
I don't know about that. But you know what's cool about that song, too, is that it has that keyboard in it, that organ in it, I should say.
Sure, yeah.
And
it's a Hammond
just has
organ.
But that old like Roadhouse kind of sound to it, just a sweaty place, smoky, and
he's one of the few guitar players I've heard cover Hendrix and not embarrass himself. Either shine like right there with them, or maybe even top him here and there. But it's hard to cover someone like Hendrix and not make a fool out of yourself. But
I would have put him up higher if it were up to me. That's all I'm trying to say. This is number 13 on the list. Are you ready for it? You'll know it immediately. Both of you will. But Brewski, this is your love.
And discipline it remains mercifully.
Yes, and neither would you.
You know what it is, Brewski?
Now, what is it?
You know what it is? Yeah, it's David Gilmour is number 13 on the list.
Here's a question for you both, though. This intro to Wish You Were Here that Nick is playing, like, it's famous, but do you understand what the scene is that's going on here?
I don't.
It took me forever. And someone pointed out to me, and I was finally like, oh, duh. He's sitting there playing along with the radio.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yes. That AM effect, that's the
Yeah.
radio. And now here he is jamming along with the radio.
I never in a million years would have known that, dude.
Right. And that same thing, when someone told me, I was like, makes total sense. Like, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
I mean, Gilmour is kind of, Brewski, he's gone on some weird political tangents of late, right? I mean,
yeah.
kind of like
He
Eric
has?
Clapton, like he's a legend, but stop talking politics.
Yeah, because then you're ruining it for everybody.
And Pink Floyd, I mean, I don't even know how to describe them. They write rock operas. They don't write pop songs. I mean, those albums should be listened to front to back. And
Yes.
Gilmour is one of the greats, to say the least. But
The first time that I had my defibrillator put in my chest, I'm laying on the table in the operating room, and they're listening to the local classic rock station here in Boston. And as they're giving me the gas, all I can hear is, hello, hello. Is there anybody in there? And I'm just like, I can feel my eyes getting all heavy, and just nod if you can hear me. And I'm like, oh my God, this is
That
so
is
appropriate.
kismet, dude. I mean, yeah, come on. That is unbelievable.
that is hilarious. Pink Floyd is one of my faves, and they're one of the bands that I didn't discover until I was like 19 or 20. I just had no exposure to it at all.
Yeah.
And just, became mildly obsessed with them. Had some great trips listening to all of their stuff. And,
yeah.
I'll tell you, this is, I don't know. Let me just pat myself on the back, I guess, real quick here. When I first joined South Normal, they covered Comfortably Numb, but I had never heard the song. So I learned it through the band, just like you'd learn any song in the band. Show me the chords, how does it go? And I played along. And
Right.
I always improvise all my guitar solos for the most part. And when we were playing Comfortably Numb the first time, I went and did the guitar solo. And at the end of the song, Jeremy, the bass player, was like, I thought you said you never heard the song before. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, your guitar solo was like almost exactly like Gilmour played it. I was like,
wow, you may have
what
some
I heard.
DNA with David Gilmour. Is that what you're saying, dude? Some of the same DNA inside you?
Apparently. Listen, all rock guitar players play out of the blues and pentatonic scales, and that's what I was playing out of, and that kind of guitar solo is just what fits.
Yeah.
And
You can feel it.
Gilmour is a legend for sure. But yeah, shut up.
Number 12 on the list is, I don't know, dude. We'll have to see how you guys feel.
Oh, no.
Remember this song?
Yes. You better, you bet.
You know who it is, Brewski?
Of course I do.
I remember the song, but no. Who the hell is
Pete Townsend.
Pete Townsend, dude.
Oh. Well, why? Why would you play this?
Gosh, dude, it's one of his best songs he ever wrote.
Listen, I know so many musicians that worship The Who. I was never a huge Who fan, but I respect them a lot. It's kind of like the Rolling Stones. I was never a huge Rolling Stones fan, but I respect them all.
You're a little too old to be a pinball wizard.
Well, so I saw The Who last summer at the Boston Garden, and I will tell you this. It was the night of Pete Townsend's birthday. I think he was like 79. And let me tell you something. That man can still play. And Roger Daltrey sounded so amazing. Like he sang Rain Down Me from Quadrophenia.
Yeah.
And he was hitting those big notes. Like, it wasn't perfect, so you knew it was like live. They did everything, starting with the Tommy stuff, all the way to Quadrophenia, and they ended towards the 80s stuff with Eminence Front.
What was the deal with Pete Townsend and computer porno?
Pete Townsend got busted for child porn years ago and tried to come up with a story of like, I was investigating child porn. I wasn't collecting it myself.
Oh, of course.
I was investigating it. I was going to turn all these people over.
That takes me off get off the list, dude. Come on. Go on.
Well, it's a classic topic of, so many musicians have so many deviant things in their background. Like
Gary Glitter.
Yeah, I mean, Chuck Berry. I mean, there's so many that are great musicians, but are you going to ignore what they've done? A lot of the time you have to. So,
let's see. Number 11 on the list is Peter Green, an English guitarist, songwriter, blues rock star. Played in Fleetwood Mac, John Mayall, and the Blues Breakers. You know who he is?
What the hell? No. I mean, Lindsey Buckingham of Fleetwood Mac is one of my favorites. Bleed to Lover is such a phenomenal guitar song. But no, what is this, the original guitar player?
I don't even think so, because it has him on there as well. No, it's his second band is Fleetwood Mac. So
actually, it says here as the founder of Fleetwood Mac.
Oh, he is a founder. Okay,
so he must have been one of the originals. In my musical trivia knowledge, I couldn't even name the guy. So
well, you can love him for founding Fleetwood Mac, but that doesn't make him one of the greatest guitar players ever.
No, especially when a better guitar player takes your place and takes the mantle.
Right.
Yeah.
Number 10 on the list is Johnny Marr.
Oh, yeah.
Johnny Marr. I don't even know who.
Played for Modest Mouse. He played for the Pretenders.
Played for Modest Mouse?
The Smiths.
Yeah, he played with the Smiths.
That's what he's basically known for. He's the one that came up with that guitar sound at the beginning of How Soon Is Now.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that adore the Smiths. I was never a big fan. When did he join Modest Mouse, a more modern era band?
Recently. He played with them for a while.
And he's in the top 10 of all-time guitar players for his work with the Smiths.
Yeah, I think that's maybe because he was somewhat influential. I don't know if I would call him one of the greatest guitar players ever, but I guess I don't know otherwise, but it would have to be he's big because he was kind of influential in the style of music he was playing, I suppose.
Wow. Veto.
Yeah.
This is a nerdy personal pick of whoever wrote this list.
Yeah.
Just to say that he's above Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimmy Page.
Yeah. I'm
sitting here going, who is he again? Remind me.
Yeah.
All right. Number 9 on the list is Richie Blackmore.
Oh, okay.
Deep Purple.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No. Now, why are we going off a cliff all of a sudden? Now we're in the top 10 with two people. You got to shake my memory.
Maybe that's why part of it is just that this is all subjective, dude.
Well,
like you said, whoever wrote this article had to put some personal favorites or personal touches into the list.
That's who you put at 19, not Jimmy Page.
Well, but think about this, though. Richie Blackmore is the one that wrote, basically, I think, one of the most recognizable riffs in all of rock history.
Smoke on the Water?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's one of the most recognizable. It's also one of the easiest, which is why it's most recognizable.
Yeah, although I would say that the opening riff to Bang Your Head, Metal Health by Quiet Riot is just as recognizable as Smoke on the Water.
Yeah.
You hear it and you know exactly immediately what song that is.
Yeah.
No thinking about it.
I agree.
I don't know what just happened to this list. I was feeling very good, but okay.
Well, let's see where it goes, dude. Number 8 on the list belongs to maybe someone that you'll feel better about. It is Eddie
What's
Van
the
Halen.
moan? Dude, not high enough on the list?
In my eyes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Well, that maybe I can concur with. So.
Where would you put him? Like top 5 at least?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm going to blame David Lee Roth for him not being higher on the list. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes. I would contend that Hot for Teacher should be probably one of the greatest rock songs ever because the guitar and the drums on that song are just out of this world. But then David Lee Roth comes in and makes it a comedic, stupid, humorous, dumb song. Hot for Teacher. Like, please. But The drums on that song, the guitar. I mean, Eddie Van Halen is certainly one of the greatest lead guitar players of all time. The tapping technique. I mean, Eruption is just a mind-blowing guitar solo. And
hey, Nick, could you possibly play Unchained? Because that to me is like the quintessential Eddie Van Halen guitar open.
Are we smoking a bowl and grooving out here? What are we?
Sorry.
I just want to hear it, man.
Never a huge fan of Eddie Van Halen, and I think he's fantastic. It's just not my thing.
Why? Is it because of the David Lee Roth comedic, weirdness of Van Halen?
Yes, it is.
I think he took an amazing group of musicians, short of Michael Anthony, who's one of the worst bass players in history. One of the most simple, just thump, 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 thump. I mean, but I guess you're backing Van Halen. You can't really shine above him.
Right.
But yeah, David Lee Roth just made a joke out of so many. He made Van Halen the country music of rock and roll. One of my criticisms of country music is always that it's always a joke. It's always some catchphrase or humorous thing, getting drunk on an airplane and Van Halen did, David Lee Roth did that to Van Halen. He took just this, amazing music and made a joke out of it.
Yes, I would agree. Man, maybe that's why I don't like him. The whole image of it, I'm not a huge fan of.
Did you know, by the way, that Sammy Hagar actually wrote one of the biggest hits of the 80s that he didn't even sing?
What's that?
I've Done Everything for You by Rick Springfield.
Oh, he wrote that for Springfield?
No, he wrote that, and then they sold it to the record company for Rick Springfield. Well, Sammy Hagar says that song, the royalties from that song alone, put both of his kids through college. He never had to write a check to college whatsoever because of the royalties just from that one song.
That's cool. His son lives down the road, by the way, Aaron Hagar. He's a Tahoe kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not a joke. He's got a shop in town right behind the family tire store and all that. So.
Really?
Nice. Yeah, he's written a lot of songs that when you hear about it, you're like, Sammy Hagar wrote that song, but he wrote
cool.
a lot of songs,
Listen, I think Van Halen belongs in the top 10. Should he be higher up? Debatably, but it's, like I said, I think David Lee Roth maybe pulled him down a notch, but what he did with tapping was, he didn't invent the technique, but he took it to an entirely different level. And one of the cooler things he did into the 90s was learning that you can take any sort of motor and a guitar pickup will resonate it. So he did the thing with the drill, like, you can take an electric razor. I did that from him too. Like you can put it up to your pickups and it'll resonate the notes. Like,
really?
Yeah, he was, he did some cool stuff with the guitar for sure. So, deserves to be top 10, and everyone knows what 5150 is from Van Halen as well. So
sure do.
Nick?
Do I know what it means?
Well, 5150 is is it the police code or something for a psych hold, a mental evaluation?
Yeah, exactly, yes.
He had a whole series of amps called 5150s that, became very well-selling amplifiers for a lot of other guitar players.
There you go. Brewski's happy.
All right.
Yeah. Number 7 on our list is Randy Rhoads.
Oh.
Worthy of the top 10.
You think, for sure?
Yeah, and another dude I would give one of the top guitar solos of all time, the solo on Crazy Train, which is also a tapping technique, by the way. But, Ozzy Osbourne has this good history of finding amazing guitar players to team up with.
Yeah.
Randy Rhoads, Zakk Wylde, back into the...
Jakey Lee.
Yeah, I mean, Black Sabbath days and all that kind of stuff, so... Yeah, and he's another one of those guitar players tend to say that he's one of the greats. He's a guitar player's guitar player, Randy Rhoads. Sure. Died before his time, obviously.
Don't you think that Sharon Osbourne has a lot to do with all his great guitar players?
Was she auditioning them? Or?
Here's the deal, dude.
He's got good fingers.
I didn't mean it like that, you horny little bastard, dude.
Sorry.
I mean it like she ran his career that tightly. She was choosing people for him, all right?
Yeah.
Sharon Osbourne. She's the real talent behind Ozzy.
I can't see Sharon having the forethoughts of hire Jakey Lee or Zakk Wylde or anything like that. I think
you.
How dare
no, I think you hear them play and you say, you know what, these guys will play well with Ozzy.
Right.
Let's see, where are we? Number 6 on the list. Tom Morello.
Yeah. I was wondering if he would make it on the list. So
I would say he deserves to be in the top 10. I don't know if number 6, but yeah, I would say at least top 10.
He's innovative. That's what I would say. That's my first thing that comes to my mind is innovative.
Right.
Yeah.
He's ahead of a few people on this list that I would probably say it's an error, but he deserves to be on the list. Tom Morello probably destroyed the modern day guitar solo because he took it and just blew it up into something that no one has really done. A combination of guitar solo and I would almost argue like turntable scratching, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I would say you're right about that, dude.
Yeah. I mean, he is not a typical lead guitar player. And for somebody to hit the scene in the 90s and be able to kind of redefine lead guitar playing is that's a big accolade right there. And yeah, I think Tom Morello is amazing. His lead work and all his rhythm work. I mean, Rage Against the Machine. How can you not bang your head listening to those guys?
On Sirius, I don't know if you've ever listened to Tom Morello's got a few different shows on different stations, but they're always fantastic. I mean, he's somewhat of a musical genius as far as trivia about different music and who did what and everything. So
and also hearing all about all the different people he collaborates with.
Yes, dude. I mean,
if Chris Cornell gives you his stamp of approval, you got to be good. So
that's right.
The Audio Slave days and all that. And part of what I was debating the other day of my personal guitar list is, do any of the Seattle guitar players make it into the top 10 or whatever? And it's debatable. Legendary bands, but were there legendary guitar players? I mean, Jerry Cantrell, I think he's phenomenal. Kim Thale, I think is phenomenal. Mike McCready, but yeah, do they make the list? And I'm willing to bet that they're not going to be in here, so we shall see.
And I guess that's got to be a different list, right? Because Kurt Cobain deserves to be on a list, whether it's for, changing the music industry or creating a new genre, something, you know what I mean?
Right. It's an interesting one because, technically proficient, no, not at all. But did he take the guitar and kind of, do all sorts of good things with it? Sure.
Him not being technically proficient was a lot of his charm. Right. You know what I mean? And what he was playing. So, yeah. All right. Number 5 on the list. I don't know if you'll agree or disagree. Maybe you have to. I don't know. Are we agreeing on Keith Richards holding the number 5 spot?
Again, I have a lot of love for the Rolling Stones, but I don't own any Rolling Stones albums. I've never gone to see them in concert. Okay. It's like The Who. They're, like I mentioned earlier, I put those bands in that same category of legendary bands and done all sorts of great work. And Keith Richards, yeah, I mean, you got to acknowledge him as one of the greats for sure, but he's never been one of my personal favorites per se. But I have a lot of Rolling Stones songs that I absolutely love and adore. So it's a weird category for me.
I feel like it's almost like, they're in the same category as the Beatles. Like it has to be in the top 5, right?
But is George Harrison one of the great guitar players? I don't know. Beatles are one of the great bands.
Well, you see George Harrison on the list. What do you think of this, dude? I am a huge fan of the boss, Bruce Springsteen.
Yes. Van Zandt, is that who we're saying?
No, he plays the mandolin.
He's one of the guitar players?
Yes.
Greatest guitar players of all time, Bruce Springsteen.
I don't know about that.
No. He's on the list as number 4 greatest guitar players of all time.
Stevie Van Zandt's his guitar player, right?
They both do, but they're calling Bruce the number 4.
No.
Best guitar player of all time.
No.
Why?
He's a good rhythm player. He's a great songwriter, great frontman. But I would say Kurt Cobain has done more for guitar than Bruce Springsteen did. He didn't reinvent anything. He's just a good rock and roll, singer guitar player. But
number 4 on the list is Bruce Springsteen, one of the best guitar musicians in the world. The songwriter, singer, and band leader was an exemplary rock performer in the 70s and 80s. During his music career before the early 2000s, Springsteen played for various bands, including Ringo Starr and his all-star band.
Please. Eddie Vedder plays guitar. He's not one of the great guitar players of all time.
I don't know. We're on number 4, dude. Who knows?
No. I mean, he's a rhythm guitar player. I mean, no. Veto. I love Bruce Springsteen. I'm not taking away from him as a songwriter and a frontman and iconic musician, but do I think of him as a great guitar player? Not at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that way either.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go that way either. I don't know why you guys think I made this list.
We're shooting the messenger. That's all.
That's all. Yeah.
That's a weird choice, though. And all the guitar player lists I've seen over the years, I don't ever see him on there at all. So
right. Well, you will have to see who else is on the list and if you agree with them, because some things may still be freaky as we're only now getting into the top 3. You might not agree with what's happening here, or you might.
Okay. I mean, there's one obvious name I haven't heard yet. I'm trying to think who the other 2 might be, though. So, all right, keep going.
Oh, no.
Number 3 on the list is George Harrison of the Beatles. And I think he's got to be on the list, dude. I mean, but I will say this. Almost like Kurt Cobain. He's got to be on the list. Is he the greatest guitar player ever? I don't know about that, but his style that he brought to the Beatles was untouched.
Again, I would reference like my Pearl Jam analogy. The Beatles are one of the great bands. I don't know that any one of them is the greatest of whatever they are. Greatest drummer, greatest bass player, greatest guitar player. The Beatles collectively are obviously mind-blowing and legends, but I don't know. George Harrison is one of the great guitar players on his own. I mean, I know he made his guitar gently weep as opposed to violently weep.
Well, you wanted him to really thrash it out.
Number 3, though, on the list, ahead of a Keith Richards or Pete Townsend, who I would also say were in legendary bands, but maybe not necessarily on their own. It's not fair to Keith Richards. He's better than Pete Townsend, but okay, George Harrison.
He's not into porn either. We have to make that distinction.
He does get points for that. So
yeah, all right. Number 2 on the list.
Clapton.
The sun fell out a window, right?
Right. His politics fell off a cliff.
Yeah, Eric Clapton is number 2 greatest guitar players of all time.
I won't argue with him being in the top 3 on anyone's list. Clapton's nickname was God for very good reasons. He is a phenomenal blues rock guitar player. He's a bit of a moron that doesn't know how to watch kids correctly, but he's a legendary guitar player. One of the greats as far as being a lead guitar player goes. Absolutely.
All right, so we're happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, number 2 on the list, it's a little high, if you ask me, but okay.
Here's the thing, dude. Eric Clapton met all genres of playing with Cream and then playing his lighter stuff of Tears in Heaven, like so many people like him, dude.
Yeah. No.
Well, I mean, After Midnight.
Yes.
He wrote a whole song about cocaine. I give him credit just for being like, you know what? This drug deserves a song. Let's dedicate an entire song to cocaine.
Are we ready for number 1 on the list?
If it's not frickin' Hendrix, I'm throwing you out a window for bringing this list to us.
Okay, well, I told you, dude. I didn't write it. But number 1 on the list, drum roll, please. Number 1 on the list, you will not be disappointed, Steve, because it is Jimi Hendrix.
Excellent. What example do you have for us? I'll judge you on that.
Oh, you will?
Yes. If you play Fire or Foxy Lady, I have to throw you out.
A Little Voodoo Child.
All right. You can get points for that.
All right.
I also would have accepted Little Wing. That is probably one of his great guitar songs. But yeah, I mean, Hendrix has to be certainly the top 3 of any credible guitar player list. But yeah, probably number 1. I mean, I don't feel good about saying he's not number 1 of all time. So.
What we would have seen if he would have lived longer, dude. I mean, do you think he would have just kept putting out amazing music, or would he have faded away?
That's a great question about every artist that died too young. Kurt Cobain certainly being one of them, but
sure.
You wonder, would Hendrix have gone on to some sort of smooth jazz era in the 80s or something? Or
playing like Stanley Clark,
Yeah.
Would he be a lounge performer in Vegas nowadays? I don't know.
Would he be Fat Elvis? Would he be Fat Jimmy?
Jimi Hendrix took an electric guitar and did things with it that not only did no one do before him, but everyone has emulated or taken a variation on its sense.
Yes.
So, yes, he is the greatest rock guitar player of all time.
Quintessential.
I was disappointed that I did not see Prince on this list.
So, yeah, I was going to say, now who's not on the list? Prince is a good one. I would argue somebody like a Chuck Berry should be on a list of all-time great rock guitar players.
Yeah.
Bo Diddley should probably
definitely
be
in the top 20, right?
Right. B.B. King, I mean.
Yeah.
What was this list titled? Just greatest guitar players of all time?
20 greatest guitarists of all time.
Right. Isn't it interesting how on a list like that, it almost is always all rock artists? Was there any country artist on this list?
No, I didn't see anything.
Yeah, exactly. Because they don't deserve to be there.
You know what I will say for Prince, when he did My Guitar Gently Weeps, the way he goes through that will give you the chills and almost bring you to crying. And then when he just throws the guitar off and walks off stage, it's the ultimate mic drop. And Prince was pretty badass.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is he's on stage with that red hat. And he drops himself backwards off the stage, like doing the Nestea plunge, and they catch him, and he's still playing. He didn't stop playing.
No.
He's playing while, and then they kind of push him back up on stage onto his feet. And everyone else on stage is just standing there, just smiles on their faces as he's just ripping it up.
Well, I mean, they're all looking at him like, oh, you're still going? Like, Petty is looking at him like, oh, my gosh, dude, we're around royalty right now. I mean, have you seen the performance, Harness?
I don't know if I've seen the one you're talking about, but I would put Prince in that category that you were mentioning about Billy Corgan, that people just don't seem to think of him as a great guitar player, but he is.
He can play all instruments too, but
yes, he did on most of the albums. So yeah, he's one of the greats on that kind of thing.
Pretty amazing. So yeah, top 20 right there. Agree with it or not? That's what it says.
Another classic band, Aerosmith. Joe Perry is one of the greats. I'm surprised he was nowhere on there actually. So
it's too small of a list, dude. I mean, there's too many great guitarists or influential guitarists that we don't even have. 20 is not a list. Come on. We need the top 100 to get serious about what we're doing.
Sure. No Seattle artist on there. I mean, Jimi Hendrix, obviously, he's from Seattle, but I'm talking like the 90s, era of Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, Nirvana, Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
And I would argue even into the Foo Fighters now. So
we should get some concert review. Stephen went to see the Foo Fighters in Tahoe this past Thursday. Opening up for him, it was the Breeders. Oh, Brewski, you'll get a kick out of this.
Okay.
I had Steve sending me a couple of videos, and I had another friend that was there sending me videos. They did Gigantic. Dave Grohl came out and did it with
the Breeders.
It was real, and it was real cool. So
that was a cool moment. Yeah, Grohl coming out and playing with the Breeders, who of course are some of the members from the Pixies, and they did the Pixie song, and that was super cool. I just got to say, is Dave Grohl one of the great guitar players? Yeah, probably not as far as just like technically proficient or whatever, but Foo Fighters have proven themselves to be one of the great rock bands of this modern era. They're one of the few bands still keeping the torch alive for just good old rock and roll bands.
Yes.
And boy, when you think about the number of, they played for 2.5 hours, and sometimes I forget how many freaking great songs they have contributed over the years.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And they played, This Is a Call, Fingernails Are Pretty, whatever. And I just had this flashback of like when that song hit the radio, I was delivering pizzas in Michigan, playing in South Normal. It was 1995.
Yeah.
And here we are 28 years later, and they've had album after album. And man, they put on a phenomenal live show. I mean, Dave Grohl is a rock god. He deserves that status.
He broke his foot during a concert and played the rest of the show. I mean, he's a rock god. He just goes up there and he goes like crazy. It's exactly what you want to see when someone's playing rock and roll, true rock and roll.
Here's a sincere question for you guys with your music knowledge. What drummer has ever gone on to become the front man of a band? I mean, he was a drummer in Nirvana, a legendary band, and then he was like, hey, guys, I can sing and play guitar. Kurt Cobain's dead. I'm going to start a new band. And everyone thought
Phil Collins did it.
Well, right? Yes, Phil Collins and Don Henley, but they both sang lead playing drums. How many go from being the drummer to being the front man?
Yeah.
And Phil Collins is a good example, but yeah, he was singing for Genesis too, so...
Well, by the way, Dave Grohl actually wrote just about all of the Foo Fighters' first album while he was still in Nirvana. And he played some of the stuff that he recorded on his own for Kurt. And Kurt was just going like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess if you like that and that sort of thing. So here's the question.
Right.
Do we think that Dave would have stuck around? Or do you think Dave would have left the band, even if Kurt had not died and that sort of thing? Maybe Dave still would have left and gone on and done his own thing,
I don't think he would have. I don't think he would have left if Nirvana was still plugging away and really still killing the game, still changing the tapestry of music. But I think if he started to get tired, maybe he would have, dude. Who knows?
I think he would have done solo work. He probably would have done some version of the Foo Fighters on his own, but still stayed in Nirvana. And I saw a great clip with him where someone asked him, like, how come you weren't more forceful with Kurt Cobain to say, I've got all these songs I've written? And he said, there's a famous joke amongst musicians that what's the last thing the drummer ever said? Hey, guys, I wrote a song.
Right. Yeah.
Shut up, drummer. Bang on your things.
Right.
Well, another question. How long do we think that Kurt would have still been playing music had he not died? Because towards the end there, he was kind of at the point where he wanted to get away. And I think he would have become a recluse within 5 years and maybe come back every so often with something he was doing. I don't think he would have been full-time.
He would have been the Dave Chappelle of music, I think. Would have gone off and taken a sabbatical, went to Africa and just chilled, and then maybe come back. I don't know.
No, that's definitely possible. That's like we were saying earlier. You got to wonder if any of these legends, are they in part legends because they died at the top and we just only know the good stuff? Would they have ruined their legacy going on? But Foo Fighters did a phenomenal concert. Pat Smear was back playing with the band, which I didn't even realize he was back, and that was so cool to see him. And not only a phenomenal show, but Dave Grohl's a funny dude. He made a lot of funny jokes up there, and they did this whole, I would almost call it musical comedy amongst some of their songs. Like, there's a lot of Foo Fighters songs that have breakdowns in the middle. And one of them, they just break into Enter Sandman all of a sudden. And they do just a couple, they do like part of the verse of Enter Sandman. Then he's like, stop, that's all we know. We don't know the rest of the song. Like, get back to our song. And they did a segment where he was introducing the band. And I didn't realize how many other bands his current band has been in. Most notably, and I should know his name, but I don't, their brand new drummer. He was in Devo. Whip It Good. He was in 9 Inch Nails. He was with Michael Bublé.
Oh, his name is Taylor Schmawkins.
Think of this. I mean, not only is he stepping into the late great Taylor Hawkins, who became, Dave Grohl's best buddy and, took over this mantra of being the drummer for the Foo Fighters, which is fronted by one of the greatest drummers ever who could do your parts as good, if not better. And on early Foo Fighters records, he actually replaced the drummer. That was a whole legendary thing where the drummer for the first album recorded the entire album and then heard it released and was like, that's not me. Like, Dave went back and re-recorded all the drum parts because he just wasn't happy with them.
Wow.
By the way, his name was Josh Freese. That's the new drummer.
All right. So Josh Freese, amazing drummer. I mean, he's got a double bass drum, much like a Lars Ulrich, and he was rocking it.
Really?
Double bass action. And so they did this part of the concert where Dave was introducing everyone, and every band they used to be in, they would break into a verse of one of their most famous songs. And so at one point, he's like, introducing the drummer, and they start playing Whip It. They start doing a 9 Inch Nails song, and they start doing Michael Bublé. It's a beautiful day, but Dave's like, I don't know the lyrics, so he's just blah, 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 da, dee.
That's funny.
It was really fun and funny.
Have you ever seen when Dave does his DGs stuff?
No.
So Dave has this band called the DGs, and it's basically Foo Fighters versions of Bee Gees songs.
Oh, no,
that's fun.
And if you think about it,
I know when he did some bar mitzvah thing, didn't he do a bunch of crazy covers and the Bee Gees were part of it?
No. Every Hanukkah,
that's what
he does covers of Jewish artists for every single night of the week. It's a different one. But here's the thing, though. It's not always him that sings. He had his daughter Violet sing one night, and she sang Take the Box by Amy Winehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you something. It blew me away because she sounded so good. Like sultry lounge singer type, and I feel bad saying that because she's kind of a teenager and everything.
Right. Yeah, sure.
But she is just a phenomenal singer. She really is. But that's that whole thing there. He does that the Hanukkah sessions every year.
Yeah, and that's what it is. Yeah.
The DGs thing, Dave actually flew the band to Kansas, and Westboro Baptist Church was going to be picketing a funeral like that. Yeah, and what Dave did was he rented a flatbed truck, and they basically played music and circled around so that Westboro people couldn't be heard by the people at the funeral, and they were playing "You Should Be Dancing" by the Bee Gees.
That's right. They were driving around. I remember that.
And he's getting on the microphone asking the Westboro people, "Hey, you're supposed to be, followers of Jesus. How come you don't love everybody?" And it was just
it was great.
Yeah, it was.
You know, I remember seeing a documentary on the Bee Gees, and they interviewed rock artist after rock artist that said, you know who one of the greatest songwriters are? It's the freaking Bee Gees.
Yeah.
Like, they got ridiculed for being disco or whatever, but they are phenomenal songwriters. The melodies, the harmonies, the look, the hooks in the songs. I mean, the Bee Gees, they really are a phenomenal band.
Dude, How Deep Is Your Love is one of the greatest songs of all time. I mean,
I think More Than a Woman. I freaking love that song. But yeah, Foo Fighters were phenomenal live. I can't recommend them enough if they come to a town near you guys to check them out. So I got to see them years ago in Seattle do an acoustic show, which was mind blowing. But this was full on rock and roll show. And yeah, Dave Grohl deserves status of rock god and for keeping the rock and roll torch alive. So,
you know, by the way, back in probably would have been 2013, we went and saw Paul McCartney at Safeco Fields.
Sure.
And Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters came out on stage and played with Paul McCartney.
Yes, Dave Grohl's a huge Beatles fan, and he worships Paul McCartney. I saw an interview where he was like, I had Paul McCartney over to my house, and he started playing Lady Madonna on my piano. And he was like, I almost wet myself. Paul McCartney's in my house playing my piano. Like,
oh, yeah, exactly.
That would be my endorsement. And yeah, by the way, Donnie and I got a suite at the Hard Rock here in Tahoe, and man, we just had a rock and roll night. I mean, we partied hard before the concert. We rocked out for, 3+ hours really with the Breeders opening, and then went back to the suites, and I was just double fisting tequila and a joint.
I'm glad you said tequila.
There was some other shenanigans going on as well that night. Everyone had smiles on their faces that entire freaking night.
If I may ask, how was the family visit?
It was good. Yeah, my sister came into town, and it's good to get caught up with them and play guitar for my sister because my son was showing off some of his new guitar skills and whatnot.
Yeah, put him to shame a little bit.
Yes.
You get down, girls.
No, they asked me to play, and my electric guitar skills have got a little shaky, but I took out the acoustic, and I will tell you too, I had some proud parenting moments with my kid this past week with Crosby. Not only did he tell my sister, they asked, what kind of music do you want to learn to play? And he was like, yeah, I want to learn like some Green Day and some Metallica. I'm just like, I didn't pay him to say any of those things. Like that was
right.
But he told me this past week, unsolicited, out of nowhere, my son tells me, I think Pearl Jam is one of the greatest rock bands of all time because they're just a good mid-tempo rock group. They're not too heavy like Pantera. They're not too mellow like some, thing. And he's like, I really think Pearl Jam is one of the great rock bands.
Good, dude. That's good.
I've done something.
Yeah. Did it bring a tear to your eye, Steve? You're like, that's my boy. That's my boy right there.
Forget learning how to ride a bike or spell. Like hearing my son say that Pearl Jam is one of the great rock bands of all time. Like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm Costanza this. I'm done parenting. So, yes, good musical week around here.
Very nice. Brewski, you also had a little live musical experience. Who did you go to see?
I went primarily to see the Hooters, and they didn't disappoint me at all. It was amazing to see. But
it was an 80s kind of one-hit wonder extravaganza, right?
No, not well. Tommy Two-Tone was the only one that's a one-hit wonder because Paul Young had several hits, and he's actually a really good vocalist.
Come on.
But I will say
they all are known for one song, really, in the rock and roll history.
No.
Tommy Two-Tone, what's his other song? Rick Springfield, what's his other song? The Hooters, what's their other song?
Rick Springfield has several hits, actually.
Oh, please.
Yes. I
host the 80s. Come on. I host an 80s show. He's got one major hit. I know that he had other little hits, but come on. I'm all right?
That's Kenny Loggins.
Oh, sorry. See, this is how easily I get confused with my 80s artist. Rick Springfield, breaking the bro code with Jesse's Girl, you bastard. So what are the top 3 Rick Springfield hits?
Human Touch. I've Done Everything for You, which is actually written by Sammy Hagar.
Yeah.
And if I had to pick one, what's the other one that I really?
Nick, back me up here. Come on, these are all one-hit wonders.
Please. Oh, I mean, yes, they are to the Billboard charts.
Right. I know every band's got some other hits, and real fans know there's deeper stuff. But come on, Tommy Two-Tone. What are you going to say is their other hit?
No. I wouldn't say that. I agreed with you about Tommy Two-Tone.
Okay. And the Hooters? And we danced and what?
Day by Day. That was the one I really wanted to hear. That was fantastic.
And who's the other one? I don't know. Paul Young?
Yes.
I don't even know who that is.
Every Time You Go Away.
Every time you go.
It's a slower song.
I used to slow dance in the middle school prom with that one.
Yeah.
But again, how many hits?
You know what?
There's nothing wrong with, listen, Corey Haim once famously said, it's better to be a one-hit wonder than a no-hit wonder. So I'm not taking anything away from him. That was the only smart thing he ever said.
Who was your favorite at the show?
The Hooters was my number one, but I will tell you what, Rick Springfield put on a hell of a performance. And I'll tell you what, for someone that's 74, God made me look at myself like, what the hell am I doing with my life? You know, because I look like complete garbage compared to that guy.
How long did each band play for?
Tommy Two-Tone only played for maybe 20 minutes. You know what's funny? He played, Operator by Jim Croce.
Yeah.
Operator. Yeah, but they played it.
I love it. He had to fill out his 20-minute set with covers.
Wait. So what they do, what he likes to do is he likes to take a 70s song, but sing it in an 80s way. He sang it in the style of The Clash.
Oh, so we made it worse. Okay, that's good.
No, I thought it was fun.
I know I host the 80s show here in Tahoe, but I think
you hate the 80s. I know you do.
It's the weakest decade of
it's not.
Musical decade. Well, if you argue like 2010 to 2020, maybe, but I'm talking like the 50s to 2000. Like it's the weakest decade.
I don't know, 70s, and I dig a lot of 70s stuff. There was a lot of weak stuff in the 70s.
Listen, I got to know if you danced and moved your body around.
No, I didn't. I didn't. I will tell you this, though. There were a lot of old broads there last night, and some of them were just being complete C's.
Oh, really? They were mean old broads?
Oh, God. I just wanted, I want to. Really, yeah.
You what? Like,
Brewski almost punched some old lady last night.
No. They're probably my age. They're probably like between 52 and 55 and everything. But
what was making them mad, dude?
No, they were in front of me. So one of them is like standing in front of my aunt, who's barely 5 feet tall as it is. Okay. Right? And so here's the thing, okay? If you're at a show and in between bands, they're playing a DJ spinning music to kind of keep everyone interested, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to get all pissed off because you can't hear the music that the DJ is spinning?
Oh, what? You're talking and they're getting pissy?
Yeah, she got all bleeping pissy. But she was like, all I can do is hear you running your mouth back there.
Oh, please. That's elevator music at that point. It's just setting the mood between bands.
And here's the thing, though. So we're in the middle of Every Time You Go Away by Paul Young, right? There's like maybe a minute left on the song. She and her two friends decide they need to get up because they sit in our row and move to the seats in front of us, which had an aisle in front of them so they could get up and stand and everything like that. And I'm like, wait till the damn song is done. I mean, come on, really?
Have some concert etiquette. I mean,
and
it's a real thing.
So she's standing up and she's trying to record just about every part of the Rick Springfield performance.
She's horny, dude.
Yeah, probably was. There was a lot of bad dancing, too. There were a lot of chicks there that had no rhythm whatsoever.
What about you, dude? You're not dancing even by yourself?
No, I didn't feel like getting up and dancing. I mean, I wanted to, but I was kind of like, I'm just going to sit here and relax, So, but it was a good show. It was fun, and drink prices weren't outrageous either, so that was good.
Smart move on the venue, so that's good.
I was just drinking Bud Lights anyway, so.
Good for you, though, sticking up for the liberal cause.
Yeah.
Or just drinking beer you wanted to, because who needs to politicize beer, right?
Yeah, but it was, and I was there with my sister and my aunt. My aunt is like our big sister. She's only 5.5 years older than me, so.
You were on your best behavior.
I was, actually. That chick almost got a chief.
She almost got a chief?
Almost got a chief. Yeah.
Brewski starts to calling people chief. You better get out. Get out of the way, dude. Well, that's gonna bring the show to a close. Yeah.
Indeed it is. Find us online, thevocalminority.net, and share your thoughts on all of our socials.
And we say bye-bye.
Say bye-bye, Brewski, please.
Bye-bye, Brewski.
Test 1 2, test 1 2.
Check. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve.
Nick Reynolds, Steve Harness, and Cousin Brewski. The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve.
Take one.